Today I'm going to be talking about loners, aka you, because if you're watching my shit, that means you're kind of like me. To some extent, you're really weird, you're really awkward, or you're both. So I'm going to be talking about loneliness and how it's become essentially my biggest weapon in my growth and how I've used it to my advantage. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Iman. If you're new here, I don't want to be found by the locals, so can we just keep this a secret? Just between you and me, okay? You get me? Okay, so from ages about 10 up until 19, I was fugly as fuck. At that point, I beg to differ. I was essentially on my side. I'm sorry, but look at this photo. Why the hell is my toes hanging onto this tree for dear life? Why? She was suffering. I to this day will defend her. But insert photos here. She wasn't the finest of them all, you know? She wasn't the best that she could have been. Ew!
What an interesting artifact.
Nonetheless, still love her. But anyhow, for most of my teenage years, flew under the radar. I didn't get much attention. I didn't engage much. I didn't, go out. I didn't date. I didn't even really converse with anyone. I was fucking weirdo. But anyhow, those years taught me a lot. One thing that I learned by being alone by myself a lot, for me, I had a lot of clarity from the moment I was young. I knew exactly what was me, what wasn't me, what I'd be willing to do and what I wasn't willing to do. Loneliness essentially teaches you clarity. When you have clarity, situations and the solutions to those situations are easy to identify. When you are overwhelmed by an abundance of choices, an abundance of opinions, an abundance of pressure, it gets a bit tricky to identify what you need to do for you and whether what you're doing is for you or if it's to appease other people. When you're with yourself enough, you get to listen to yourself because it's silent. Silence makes you think and feel your way through things. When you're from ages 10 to 19, you are easily malleable. It's very easy to kind of mold yourself to something that's not even you. If you're lonely now, don't think of it as a bad thing. Think of it as a means to get in touch with yourself, to connect with yourself. I think I managed to do that pretty well. Instead of feeling pressured by not having the coolest friends, hanging out with the coolest people, or doing things quick enough because everyone else has reached their certain milestone. Instead, I just went at my own pace. I think that's the best thing you can do when you go at your own pace and not fall to what everyone else should be doing. Then you find that you meet clarity when you should meet it. You meet answers naturally instead of, stumbling your way through lessons in life. For example, the dating culture. I don't date at all. I just don't like the culture that's been cultivated by dating. I don't think that you should turn over people. I don't think you should swipe on people and see who's the best of the bunch. I prefer organic situations, cultivating true and genuine relationships. I don't think that you should be running through people. It teaches very bad things for both men and for women. And I think when you're alone, you get to hear what you really want out of life. I don't want to be a byproduct. I don't want to be an option to someone on an app. I don't want to be eye candy for someone on an app. I don't want to be a body to someone. For me at least, I don't know if that's you too, but the biggest scam in the world is when people are trying to say this is who you should be. This is what you should accept. This is what you should do. And I think when you're alone enough, you get to block that out for a bit. You get to really understand what you do want out of life, what feels natural to you, instead of adopting something that feels foreign to you. I'm always a really big supporter on doing what's natural to you. The advice that I tell you might not be natural to you, so don't do it. Being lonely essentially taught me how to identify problems beforehand and avoid them. Fortunately enough, I haven't lived an extremely tough life. I haven't gone through, abusive relationships. I haven't gone through abusive friendships because I've managed to cut them when I need to. Life can be intensely simple when you know how to manage your consequences. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Obviously, there are exceptions to all of this. No one deserves pain. No one deserves harm. No one deserves things to be coming at their way. Everyone kind of gets dealt bad cards at some point. But I think life can be really simple when you have that ability to see the game field. I think that's one thing that everyone kind of misses half the time. They're so fixated on, trying to get out of the heat, the storm that they're in, instead of stepping out of it for a second and thinking, okay, what does this game field look like? Where am I? What can I prevent? What can I avoid? By being lonely, essentially, I've developed the ability to choose my consequences. I didn't hang out with people that weren't going to do good for me. I didn't engage with situations, boys, for example, that I knew that were going to cause me harm. I think when you can be incredibly honest with yourself, then you're able to avoid a lot of hardship in your life that you otherwise would have gone through because you're stumbling. When you are with yourself enough, you know yourself. When you know yourself, then people can't bully you into doing things. People can't tell you what you should and shouldn't be. And people can't, guilt trip you into things. You become a more well-rounded, stronger, more resilient person. I've found that the more that you are malleable, especially as a kid, but even more so as an adult, the more that you become picked on. When you are resilient, when you are strong in your conviction, people tend to leave you alone. Anyhow, I found that growing up, I didn't receive too much backlash or any negativity because I was very resilient. Hey, please subscribe. My next point is being lonely taught me how to become a multifarious machine. So basically, I think most kids are like this because in your formative years, you have to latch onto something as an identity. And when I was a kid, I was very odd. I was very weird. I was a nerd. And I strongly believe that competence and intelligence takes you through life. I was a firm believer that if you work hard enough, keep your head down, then you will get what you want out of life. As I've learned to grow up, I have changed that ideology in the sense where I'm learning more and more that it's a balance between competence and charisma. I heard it off a podcast. I'll mention it somewhere in the description or I'll link a picture of it up here. That, for me, changed everything because when you begin to learn to understand that you need to be charismatic as well as be competent in order to achieve success, then life, it's still very limiting and it's still very simplistic. For me, the moment I understood that I needed to exploit my beauty, I need to exploit my talent, and I need to exploit my unique traits, I got ahead in life quicker. Now, I talk about this briefly in my video, I'll link it here, about character building and how to get ahead of others in life. The more that you can become someone who lives in a grey area, you can always learn to enhance your skill set. For me, personally, my first fully formed video that I posted here, I posted a month ago. It is the worst edited video. I didn't know how to edit. I literally downloaded Adobe Premiere Pro and I winged it, and I've been winging it since. I've been winging it the whole way. Investing in, I guess for me in this example, learning how to edit, enhance your skill set, never stay stagnant and always aim to keep learning. You become perpetually complex. And in doing that, you become valuable. Loneliness essentially taught me that because I had enough time to stick to myself that I could brainstorm how to be better, how to do things better, how to move further in life. Half the time, people these days do not give themselves the space to cultivate thoughts like, how do I move forward? They don't, even develop a hobby. It is bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre to me. And sometimes you can see that in people. They actually don't know what they stand for, what they believe in, because they've become carbon copies of everyone else. They're a puzzle piece of everyone else around them instead of actually, drawing the line and wondering, what am I willing to accept? What do I like? What do I want out of life? They're too busy chasing the next quick fix, consuming cheap dopamine. It's bizarre to me. As I grew up, I learned that the more that you can be diverse, the more you become interesting. The more that you can be a bitch, but also be kind. The more that you can be smart, but also be quick on your feet. The more that you can be fit, be able to be laid back, everything in moderation and everything in balance is something that's most desirable. When you are lonely enough, you begin to enhance your skill set. So my last point is being lonely taught me self-sufficiency. I have seen horror stories of people and how emotionally dependent they are on others. I've seen some people completely tie themselves to other people, exhaust themselves, and in doing that, you end up expelling all your energy just to prove yourself to someone. At the end of the day, being lonely taught me how to become self-sufficient because no one else was going to appease that feeling of not fitting in other than me doing stuff that would make me more likely to fit in. People think that it's a bad thing that, people want to fit in. I think it's very true to us as humans that need and desire to fit in. And I think when you can learn to, instead of rejecting the fact that you don't fit in, but think, why don't I fit in? What am I doing wrong that's making me stand out? You tend to move forward in life a bit better. You tend to digest. Being lonely doesn't have to be this sad and depressing thing. A lot of people think being lonely constitutes being sad, being left out, not feeling like you can fit in this world. I loved being lonely. I saw it as I didn't have to deal with people's shit. But people are so annoying. Try and see it a different way. For the way that I chose to perceive it, me not seeing it as a hindrance, but to some extent an advantage, I ended up not attracting too much to myself. I am a firm believer that what you feel integral to you deep down down in innately will come out on the surface. If you are insecure, your insecurity will show in your mannerisms, in the way that you talk to people, in the way that you look at people, and they'll have a physical manifestation. And I think you can embrace being lonely when you just don't care about it enough, when you don't draw attention to it. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. Thanks for staying tuned this long. Above here I've got something attached that you can possibly watch. Otherwise I've got my Insta, make sure you check that out. If you've liked this video, make sure you like, you comment, and you subscribe to me. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video, and until then, you look after yourself. Okay, bye.